I'm sure that most people watching this are very well aware of the large pollution problem that we have in the world. But did you know that in less than 10 years, that damage is irreversible and there's nothing we can do? I think people should really start taking this more seriously because if not, our world will kind of be screwed. This pollution will lead to much hotter weather throughout the world and destroy ecosystems that are very important. This is all caused by the trapping of greenhouse gases and that that is being sent back into the earth instead of escaping into the atmosphere. There needs to be action or else we'll be on a downhill spiral for the rest of our lives and eventually pass it on to the next generation. Before any action is taken, however, I believe it is important to look how that all happened and then see what we can do to fix it and why it is so important to do so. There are three main types of pollution. These are air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. Of all of these, the one that is getting the most talked about is air pollution. This type of pollution is caused by liquid and solid particles that get suspended in the air. These particles from a number of different places, including car exhaust, factories, dust, and even volcanoes and wildfires. The cause of most of this pollution is from burning fossil fuels in factories and the same burning that happens in our cars. According to weforum.org, air pollution is actually the fourth largest threat to the human race. These health risks of breathing dirty air can lead to lung infection, respiratory issues, and even cancer. 6.5 million people die every single year due to this. This is just about 11.6% of global deaths. Honestly, just that in itself should make more people and motivate them to cut down on the pollution being sent in the world. The problem is that there are trillions of dollars being put into this. Many companies use this, and many companies also profit off of this. Just for some perspective, according to Statista.com, the global oil industry is worth $3.3 trillion. If that were to be taken away, there would be thousands of jobs lost, and people in those fields would have to find new jobs, which can be pretty difficult. That being said, there is a much greater importance on the survival of our future generations and ourselves. Here's a graph showing where most of this pollution is coming from, and obviously, if you can see at the top there, China is sending the most pollution into the world. USA is next, but it's only about half, so if we can get China to cut down on their use, we'll be golden. Water pollution is another type of pollution that is leaving a big mark on the world. This type doesn't really affect us humans as much as it does the oceans, and the ocean ecosystems, but it's still a huge deal because we are supported based on those ocean ecosystems, and we should just help out the ocean ecosystems, right? According to oceansociety.org, 25% of all marine species are supported by the coral reefs, even though they themselves only cover less than 1% of the ocean floor. That is a huge impact, and the pollution has already caused about half of them to die since the 1980s. It is also feared that in the next 30 years we could lose all of them. Many animals needing those reefs would die, and many species could very well go extinct. This kind of pollution also affects humans by getting into the drinking water. Drinking toxic water that comes from places unknown is very scary. The cause of all this pollution comes from factories, town runoff, and farms. The pollution from factories usually goes into the ocean, while the other two causes mainly get into our drinking water. Both of these areas are really bad and can seriously affect people and animals in the world. These are really just more reasons why we need to have this harm of our environment stop. Every single day that it gets worse, it becomes a day harder to get back to normal. It all adds up, and when going farther and farther in the wrong direction, it can be very difficult to get on the right track. Here's another graph. This is showing the amount of heat in the ocean, and as you can see from the 1940s, it has drastically gone up. This over here is 2018, so it's still about 2 years old, but still not too far off. But as you can see, it's been on an uphill trend, and the heat in the ocean is going way up, and that is what's killing these coral reefs. They can't live in that kind of temperature, and they're struggling because of that. The last big part of the pollution problem is land pollution. This is an interesting type of pollution because we all use it every single day. The causes of this are deforestation, agriculture, industry, urbanization, and construction. This is interesting because we all need a house to live in, and this is the sort of pollution that is bad for the environment. There are huge cities that take up a lot of land, and they are huge causes to the pollution problem. With everything going on in the city and people all over the place, it is hard not to add to the problem. Cities make it really easy to live because your work can be 2 minutes away and you can have endless entertainment from all the time. But all the concrete and industry being placed on top of the land is not really good for it. It causes erosion, and for that part of the earth is not made to withstand that amount of pressure sometimes, and it ends up causing huge catastrophic damage to the earth that is not replaceable. Like I said earlier, we are doing much harm to the world, and if we do not turn it around, we will need to find solutions. We will be in a lot of trouble. You might be asking how we can do this. Well, to start, we need to cut down on our use of factories and cars. Sciencing.com says that these two contributors make up just under 80% of greenhouse gases every single year. We need to find alternative way of transporting. A common thought is that electric cars will really help, but to power those electric cars, we need factories that use a lot of power, and that in itself creates a lot of burning and fossil fuels. But another way that we could use is using bikes. Bikes don't use any emissions, and you just go from place to place and you get a ride and you work out on it, and that's very good. But I understand that a lot of people do not live close to where they work, and this is kind of difficult, but it would definitely help. If you have to drive, carpooling with those you work with will be very, very good. This is a lot more economical, and you can even save money on the gas by doing so. This still doesn't help by cutting down on factories. For factories, it'll be up to a movement of more renewable resources. These are things such as solar, wind, and hydropower. All of these create useful energy, and there is pretty much an unlimited amount of energy in all of them. If every single house were to use and transfer to solar power, there would be much better emissions, and we would still get enough power to live our everyday lives. This is all very well possible, and all it takes is a little bit of a movement. People would have to realize, I need to make a difference in the world before it's too late. Also, commercial factories could use this power by creating, and they'd still be able to create everything that they need. It would be hard, just like houses, to switch, but like I said, it just takes a movement. Realizing the problem is just a start, and acting on it is the next step. For the future of our world, we need to start combating this and working to make it better. Thank you.